Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on Polywine, where we like to take a deep dive into stories pulled from the media and have a fun time while breaking it down. I'm Jillian, and let's get into it. Let's start off on the West Coast with our friends out in Los Angeles. And I cannot tell you how much my heart goes out to you and everyone involved, from the locals that live there to the first responders that are just putting in countless hours and time, effort, and their life on the line for all of us. So it is just such an epic problem that is going on out there. And I mean, it's never ending. It is just seems like an impossible battle that the firefighters have been dealing with. Once they kind of get a little bit of a break in the winds and a little bit of containment in some of the fires, the winds come back up with full force, and the fires spread. New fires have been popping up, and not only that, now they are dealing with concerns of mudslides. It's they've had a little bit of precipitation. It's been so dry, just a little bit, but with everything just being scorched with an ash, you also have those under layers of dirt and bedrock that have just been totally scorched, turned to ash, that are very loose. So any runoff of water, any precipitation of any amount will just trigger massive mudslides. And then it makes you think about the town of Paradise years ago, California, that was completely devastated by mudslides. And it's just one thing after another. So, and like I said, these fires are still going on. So my heart just goes out to everyone involved. And you just hear the story about how people are just displaced, how there's just very little rentals or anywhere to go. You hear about the price gouging. I mean, it is dire situation out there. The stories are heartbreaking. They're devastating. You just think as they are moving forward and trying to rebuild and move on, I hope a lot of changes can come with the city, because you just hear about the major cuts that they had within the city, that the firefighters, and now when you think that they need these resources the most, they don't have them. So I hope as they're rebuilding and moving forward that they can reevaluate things that were broken in the system and correct it and fix it. We definitely need that. It's just, this is a dire situation out there, and it is just heartbreaking to see. So if there's any way that you want to help, please go to some reputable charities. I always say that the American Red Cross, the Salvation Army, local food banks and charities, I'm sure, need all the help that they can get. There is a concert happening on January the 30th. It's called Fire Aid. I hope that can raise a ton of money for the affected area. I mean, Southern California is just completely devastated. When you see aerial footage, I mean, it does. It looks like war has happened there, like bombs have gone on. It is just mass destruction. So hopefully this can bring money that is so desperately, desperately needed and just spread it out as far and wide as they can. I mean, everything. Not only families are devastated, but businesses. It is just so widespread. So Fire Aid is going to have entertainers like Gaga, Jelly Roll, Olivia Rodrigo, Katy Perry, Red Hot Chili Peppers, No Doubt. I hope at some point that Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre come out. I don't know if Snoop Dogg and Dre have committed, but it just doesn't seem right if you have something that's for Southern California not to have those two there. To me, they are Southern California. So it's going to be Fire Aid. It's going to be held in two venues in LA. It's going to be at the Intuit Dome Center and also the Kia Forum. So two different venues, a huge number of entertainers. Like I said, those are just to name a few. The list goes on and on. I hope anybody who can perform, I hope it goes on for days. I hope it's like a new Woodstock, because they need all the help they get and all the funding. It is going to take years and years and years to rebuild. It is just so devastating. I hope some positive changes can come out of such just an extremely awful situation. It is so, so sad. And with that being said, I also want to give a little bit of credit to a small group of people that I don't think have really received a lot of credit when you talk about the wildfires. And I did not really know much about this story in this group of individuals. And that is some of the incarcerated prisoners in California that are trained to help assist in these wildfires. I didn't know that there was a training program for that. Jon Stewart actually had a gentleman on the other day that he was interviewed. It was a great interview, and I hope I get his name right. Let me see if I have his name. Royal Ramey. And he was once one of these incarcerated prisoners that went through this wildfire program. And he is now out, and he's actually started his own nonprofit to recruit and help train some of these people for this program. And I think his is called Forestry and Fire Recruitment Program. I believe his nonprofit is. Please correct me if I'm wrong at any of these, but this interview was really, really fascinating. And again, I did not know that there was this program, and it seems like it's a really intense program. This guy was a great interview, and I hope him getting out there brings a lot of attention and hopefully some funding to his charity. It sounds like such a great program where he helps, rehabilitate some of prisoners and put them into a good use, because he said that this program changed his life and ultimately changed the course of his career. And it was really a moving interview. Also, kind of when I started checking his a little bit out about him, I came across a documentary that came out a couple years ago called Fire Boys, would actually discuss about how these incarcerated prisoners that put themselves on the line for these wildfires. And it is really fascinating, and I don't think that these individuals are really getting the attention that they deserve. They are also putting their life on the line for their home and to help others. So thank you for that group of individuals, the prisoners that are going out there and fighting on the lines for fire as well. So I haven't watched that documentary. I absolutely am going to dedicate some time to watch it. If you have an opportunity to watch that interview with Jon Stewart, again, his name was Royal Ramey. Very good interview. And again, I hope that this really brings attention to that pocket. Maybe it will expand that program into other states and to other programs that can help train these individuals. So when they are released, that they have some training where they can go into a career that can put some positive and change the course of their life. That's a great thing. So I definitely want to watch that. Fire Boys is a documentary. Again, Royal Ramey was the gentleman interviewed on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. Very good interview. Very good interview. So give those individuals some credit as well. So again, to all those involved and affected, we are thinking of you. We are thinking of you. Now, let's work our way a little bit into the world of politics. A lot is going on. It's only been 1 week into the new administration, and it is a lot to keep up with. I have to say, I always kind of gave traditional news, like cable news networks and stuff like that. I always kind of gave them a little bit of a hard time for the breaking news stories, because you always see that ticker coming on constantly, breaking news, tick, 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 with that music, that intro music they always have. And it was a little bit excessive at times. It was an overuse of breaking news, because it not always was it breaking stories. They'd have a breaking story, and then they would keep saying breaking news, even like 24 hours after they originally broke the story. So it was excessive. But now, and I always have the news on somewhere in the house. It's like my house is like a bar. There's always like a TV or a computer on the news, different feeds and different networks, because I want to hear different perspectives. And you constantly hear the ticker coming on and breaking news. And it really is. You're like, what is it now? And it is something new. It's constantly changing. It is. Journalists are working overtime. Like newsrooms are they are trying their best to keep up. If you've seen the White House press room, it almost looks like to me, like like an auction, like they're just constantly putting their hands up. There's something they need to have clarification on something that just came out, and it's just unfolding minute by minute. And can I just say, why is the White House press secretary so angry? Why is she coming off so hostile? I know that it can be an intense scene in that White House press room. I get it. I understand. There's a lot of journalists coming at you, all their hands, they all want a chance. I understand. It can be an intense scene. But you can also use the press so you can have a good relationship with the press. If you want to relay your message, or what she's saying, that the message of the White House, if you want to get it across, you don't have to get it across so hostile. It's just she's coming off. It doesn't have to be in such an antagonistic way, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I think it's a cool thing. They announced yesterday that they want to mix it, that the White House wants to mix it up. They want to have like new different media outlets coming in, like podcasters and, things like that. Cool. I think that's cool. She said they have to have clearance, they have to apply. I think it's super cool to have different perspectives in news. Great. Not everybody gets their news from traditional news sources. And I'm saying that, and these are just examples here, like the journal, like the Washington Post, the New York Post, USA Today, CNN, or your standard news stations. That to me is the, traditional news, cable news and stuff like that. Not everybody gets their news from those sources like they used to. Like back in the day, you had like kind of like your three major networks, like your ABC, your NBC, your CBS, and of course your CNN, that had your go-to anchor men and women, right? That's where you kind of got your major sources of news. Now you have outlets kind of spread everywhere. That's where it can get a little hairy, right? Because you want to have reliable sources for news. And in this field where anybody can go anywhere in social media and put out news or their version of news, it can get a little murky water for sure. So I just hope they find reputable people, qualified people, because if you look around in that White House press room, there are qualified people there. They have been vetted, background checked is what I'm trying to say. The background professionally, where most of them have degrees in journalism. They have experience in the field. That's where they're sitting in that room. Experience and the knowledge, right? They have that. That's why they're in the room. They have the qualified background. I hope that professionalism and the integrity of journalism and news still holds true. You don't want bad information out there. Right? That's it. And also, there can be a lot of pushback in news and media. Everyone has their opinion and their thoughts. And, these larger news stations and news outlets, they have the protection. Like these journalists have the protection of the news organization behind them. And these podcasters, some of them are just a one man, woman show, they're a one person band. Some of them only have a small group behind them. So they don't have the protection of like large corporate media to back them up. So I just concerned for them in that regards as well. So I think it's cool that you want to have different sources. Very cool. Just, I hope that they're all protected and it's still integrity of news is still kept intact. It's happening, but let's just, not only the White House, press secretary, not only is that like rapid fire every day. I mean, it is hot every day, like hot potato, but I think just soften it a bit, White House press secretary. You've got your time. You don't need to come out so hot so quickly. Delicate, I think you can get your message across just as strongly, but with a different approach. My thoughts. But I mean, not only have you got that, you've got the confirmation hearings going on. A lot of the nominations that Trump has put forward. They are rolling right through. Today, you have RFK's nomination hearing going through, his confirmation hearing, excuse me, going through today. And of course, not only have you had a little bit of the political pushback, you also had some family pushback. I mean, Caroline Kennedy, JFK's daughter, boy, she came out with quite the statement. To say scathing, I think is still a little delicate. It was harsh. She had a very harsh statement. She was airing her grievances and, basically imploring to the Senate and to the Congress in general to please pause and really take the time and research this guy, because he's going to have a job with extreme importance. So, I mean, all of them that have been a major concern have kind of worked their way through. He's expected to get pushed through as well. It's just a constant flow. Like I said, I mean, the journalists, it's hard to keep up. Like I said, every time I turn on the news, you're like, what is it now? That's kind of how it was his first term. He's definitely following suit this time, but some can say these are the things that he ran on and he's making it happen. He is making it happen. I don't know how well it will actually come through to the other end. I don't know if they will actually go the long distance, but he's pushing through everything he said, and it is a lot. It is a lot. I do want to say, I find it interesting. What do you think when RFK gets the job at the CDC? I'm curious to see the internal memos, if they ever start to get leaked out. That should be fascinating itself, those internal memos. Just internal memos from the whole administration should be interesting. But a lot is happening. He's even declassified a lot of the JFK stuff. Speaking of the Kennedy family, a lot of that's been declassified. So, he's doing what he said. There will be some political pushback, a little bit of, legal pushback, but no matter what, the push and the flex is happening. And trust me, it is a power flex and he's flexing. So there's that. And like I said, it's only been 1 week and it's hard to keep up. But of course, like Natural Style SNL had to do, it's a nice little political pun there. They started off their monologue this week. Timothy Chalamet was the host, but going into their opening skit, they did a reprise of the play Hamilton, and Lin-Manuel Miranda kind of reprised the role of Hamilton, and he started off into it, and then boom, the guy who kind of plays the character of Trump, that SNL's version character, he came in and just kind of derailed everything. And it was really funny. It was very, very funny. So they already kicked off their play into politics. And again, Timothy Chalamet was a host and he did a great job. He's a really talented actor, Timothy Chalamet. Very, very, very talented. So they did their play. He's great. Let's get into a little bit of our entertainment world. And HBO Max has just, boom, been releasing stuff left and right. They all have. All of them have been lately. All the major networks and streaming services have. But HBO's it's been some good documentaries, good docu-series. Some shows are coming back. But they have a new docu-series called The Fall of Diddy. And wow. I've only seen the first 2 episodes that have dropped. And it is, look, the case against Diddy, there is so much that has been built up on a daily basis. I swear, every time I turn the news on or hear something, you hear about new accusations, new lawsuits being filed. Again, let me just say this off the get-go, that Diddy has declared his innocence. He said that he is innocent, he denies all charges, and he awaits his day in court, because everybody is innocent until proven guilty. So he should have his day in court. But I mean, is a lot of information coming out. Like I said, every day, I swear there is a new story, a new accuser, a new lawsuit being filed, and I would think that I'm not a legal expert. I am of no legal mind. I do really love, legal shows and court cases and stuff like that. I do enjoy that, but I am of no legal mind. But I would think that the prosecution that against attorney, and this is huge, it's going to be a huge team, that there's going to be a research section. It has to be. And they have to be watching all these documentaries that come out. And there's been quite a few, but this one might be the most detailed, might have so far the most kind of damning statements and people being interviewed. It's a lot. They have definitely established a pattern of violence, of just, it's insanity. It's insanity. Just violence, extreme, like manic behavior. Look, the stories have been out there for a long time that he's that he's intense, has a pretty hardcore work ethic, and it can be a volatile environment. Those stories have been circulating around for a very long time. But when you start hearing personal stories and direct incidents from people and others who were in that sphere who were affected, it's pretty damning. And you know that these researchers are probably going, okay, I've had this person's name, but let me see who they're talking about and who else they know and who else that they may know, and let me get this number and this. I mean, they must be just rewinding and writing down every detail of every story, because it's a lot. Like, you had childhood friends that Diddy grew up with that they were interviewing. You had people, of course, that worked with him professionally, personally. These stories, some of them are really hard to hear. Like, in the first episode, there was this one woman, and I hope let me see if I can get her name correct. Danielle Smith, I think her name was. And she worked for Vibe magazine, and she was a journalist and an editor. And this woman was a woman in a serious position of power. I mean, that was a huge magazine, and this is when Diddy was just in the height of his career in the early 2000s. And she was saying that they wanted to put him on, Vibe magazine was going to have him on the cover, and Diddy's, his company is called Bad Boys, right? Or Bad Boys Music Entertainment, whatever, but his company was called Bad Boys. And they wanted to have like a good image, so they wanted to put him in this good angel wing kind of good boy image. And they did the shoot, and after they had done the shoot, Diddy had reached out to this woman, and he wanted to, kind of look at the cover. He wanted a preview. And this woman stated that it was the policy of the company that they do not let anybody get a sneak preview of the cover or the interview until everything was released. Nobody gets an early viewing. And I'm going to paraphrase, but he, on the other end, while he was talking to her, said, "Then I'm going to find you in the back of a trunk." And she said that you need to take that back. And he refused. And she said, "Well, now I'm going to get my attorney involved." And I guess her attorney reached out to Combs's attorney or legal team and said, "If you do not respond with a legal apology, a written apology, then we are going to get law enforcement involved, because this is a scary threat." And she said within 90 minutes to 2 hours, we received that apology in writing and we moved on. Now, she continued to work with him. She had to work with him as part of her job for many years. So there was other interactions with him later on. But just that story, that's like one of the first major interactions that she had with him. And like I said, this woman was in a position of power, and for him to go at her like that with such fury, that says a lot right there. And again, Diddy's declared his innocence, and he just denied all of this. But wow. And that's just one. I mean, like I said, they interviewed his childhood friends. It sounds like they interviewed this woman who actually was at Howard University the same time that Diddy was there, and how she witnessed him beating up a girl there. Some of the legal stuff that's happened to Diddy in the past, with the shooting in the club with Shine, to that incident with the stampede in that one college. I forget a lot of this. So they bring a lot of that up. And like I said, I'm sure the research team for the legal is just like, let me write that down and let me get that name again. And who do they know? And who was their attorney at that time? It is, I don't know if cameras are going to be allowed in the courts when the Diddy trial happens, but it is going to be a very long trial. It is very, very widespread. There's so many, things against him. And I don't know how they're going to do, if they're going to do it all as one, if they're going to have different cases, different courts. I have no idea how that's going to work out, if they're going to do it all in one. I do not know, but it is going to be interesting. I'm sure that the courts are going to be absolutely packed for people who want to sit there and get a seat. I cannot imagine at the universities studying law right now, how they are going to be watching this and taking notes, because this is seriously something. This is a court case of the century, and I'm going to be watching it. I'm going to be taking notes, and I'm going to be breaking it down, and of course watching court TV on a loop. And when you think of court TV, you always think of like Nancy Grace, and there's this one other woman. There is a court journalist that I love. I think she's awesome. And when you think of court TV, when you think of celebrity court case, when you think of anything like legal journalism stories, you think of Beth Karas. And she is doing, she's always doing these documentaries, but she just did one with the Curious Case of Natalia Grace. She's awesome. I love her. She's on everything ID channel, her and Nancy Grace. But this Beth Karas, she's doing a series on HBO Max called The Curious Case of. And every week they come out with this bizarre story. And I have to tell you, I am really, really enjoying this. I think there's been about 3 episodes released. Each episode, it's a new story. And it is. Do you talk about The Curious Case of? It is. You really need to check it out. It's a quick watch. I mean, some of these stories, you can't make this stuff up. They just had Florida Man. Now you have The Curious Case of. And like I said, when I want somebody to break down a court case or a legal story, give me Beth Karas. She's done a great job. She really explains a story well, and breaks down all the legal stuff really well. She just awesome. So The Curious Case of, each week a new stories, HBO Max. I am truly enjoying it. And also, don't forget, February 16th, White Lotus Season 3 is coming back. Very excited about it. It's always a good watch. HBO Max, pumping them out. Now, let's get over to a little bit of our Peacock Bravo sphere on The Traitors with Alan Cummings. God, Alan Cummings, you are so good. I love you. And you just always bring it with your outfits. Robin Dixon, she got axed. I didn't know how she was hanging on for so long, but she was, and she finally got axed. It was bound to happen. She was doing absolutely nothing. So she is now gone. And then poor Nikki Garcia, former WWE girl, she got it. They were all going after her. After the whole coffin situation, they thought it was Sierra, and they thought, well, Sierra and Nikki, since they survived the whole coffin incident a couple weeks ago, that maybe one of them had to be the traitors. And the round table, which really is the best part of the show, where they start turning on each other, and then how somebody will throw out just some statement and then people jump all over it and totally shift their mind who they think the traitor is. That is really the best part. But everybody was kind of going in with Nikki in mind. They did end up axing Nikki. It was going to happen, but they did throw out a couple other people, which kept that spicy. I got to say, I'm really enjoying the twists and turns that this season of The Traitor is throwing in. Rob, they're gunning for you, though. They're coming for you. They already got Bob the Drag Queen. Now, Rob, they are coming on you. You got a target on your back now. You really do. And speaking of traitors, Bob Harper, who's on this season of The Traitors, was actually on Watch What Happens Live yesterday with Garcelle Bouvet. I adore Garcelle, And I really like Bob. I think he's really funny. How can you not like him? Everybody kind of loves Bob Harper. He kind of tells it what it is, but he's also a very, compassionate individual. And he's really funny. But he was on there last night, and, he's a Bravo fan as well. Who doesn't love Bravo? It's our guilty pleasure. And he, Andy Cohen, who, by the way, Andy Cohen, you looked really, really good with the round specs. You looked really good in your glasses last night. I liked it. It was a good look. He was asking Bob Harper, since you're a fan of the Housewives, are you watching Beverly Hill? And what do you think of Jennifer Tilly being the new housewife? And he was like, really kind of feeling it. And even Garcelle was like, what? And she was stunned. And I guess her and Bob Harper go back for many years, and they're friends. And they were cute together, just kind of old pals hanging out on stage. Hi, Bob. I was shocked. Bobby, no. Bob, I always like your opinion, and I think you're fun, but I'm sorry. I think you're wrong. I think your opinion is wrong in this one. Jennifer Tilly, I think she is an amazing addition. She brings the kookiness, and it's just the right amount. I think if you give, if there was more of her, and like I said, she's kind of, she's a little goofy, and I love that about her, and that's what makes her just iconic. That's why she has the most legendary roles, because she's just unbelievable. But she gets the right amount. I think if she was too much, I think it would be just a little bit overboard. So I think it's just the right amount. But Bob Harper, I couldn't believe that. You are wrong, Bob. You are wrong. She is amazing. But that's your opinion. That's fine too. This week on Beverly Hills, not too much is happening. Although it was nice to kind of see Dorit and Kyle mend a little bit at the house, or at the beach house. Garcelle had a nice little beach house party as a welcoming and intro into her new home, which is so cute. Very, very charming. Love the decor. It's perfect. I just keep thinking every time, and I don't know where her home is. Every time now that I'm watching Beverly Hills and they're shooting in locations in Los Angeles, I just can't help but think, is it there now? Does it look like that now? Is her house still there? I know that Bose said she lost her home, and I thought it was that gorgeous home in Los Angeles, but I guess it was her Malibu home, her beach home. Because I kept thinking, oh my God, I love her home in LA. It is just so different. I think it is so cool with her decor. It is, I just think it's awesome. It's just so rich with just the textures and everything. I just love it, and the color. I thought that home was destroyed in the fire. And so I guess, I thought it was her beach home. That was the one that was actually destroyed. I'm happy everyone's okay, but I always think about that. Okay. I always think about, how things look differently now. It's sad. But so they were at Garcelle's beach home. Beautiful, beautiful home. I love the golf cart, how they went to the beach. That beach party, beautiful. The flowers, the canopy, just gorgeous. But it was just, unfortunately, so windy. I feel like that's how it happens most of the time on these shows. They have these just gorgeous beach parties, and then boom, it's just the wind and the elements come in and just kind of distract some from all the hard work and the beauty. But it was nice. They all had a nice party. I think the game was actually lighthearted and fun. When they say, I'm going to play a game, let's play a game, you're like, oh God, this is not going to end well. But it was kind of fun. It was really nice to see Dorit and Kyle have a moment to mend their differences. That was nice. That was really nice to see. We need to have something move forward. But maybe I'll just tell you one thing. I love Sutton. I am always Team Sutton. I adore her. But Sutton is very, very much coming in hot this season. And she is tired of everyone's shit. She has had several years under her belt now of the show. She kind of knows how it goes and how to play the game. But she's also put up with a lot of shit. She's put up with a lot of Kyle's shit and a lot of everybody else's shit on the show. And she's had her fights. She's had to deal with the different teams. And I think she's actually kind of worked through it well. A lot of people that she had conflict with, she had Crystal last season. Remember, they started off on the wrong foot. They worked through it and became friends. So that's one example. But she's had other people in the past that she's had conflict with, and she's resolved it, worked through it. They ended up being friends on the other side. So now, but it's interesting to see Kyle. She was out on an island onto herself. So say what you want with Sutton. She's worked through it, and she's had some trauma through the other seasons. So I feel like she's just over it, and she's just like a little bitter about it. And now that she sees that everybody else is a little kind of frazzled with Kyle's BS, I think she's just doubling down on her frustration, but I don't know if it's coming out with how she wants it to. I think it's great entertainment. I love watching it. I love hearing her have a very strong voice. It's nice to see her empowered, but I think it might be to a point where it's going to backfire. I'm enjoying watching it, but I think it's going to backfire. But don't mess with Sutton. She's pissed. And now she's got Jennifer Tilly and her and Garcelle. I am very much enjoying Garcelle, Jennifer Tilly, and Sutton. And it is nice to see. I told you I was waiting to see it crack, and it's finally happening. That I was waiting for Miss Erica Jane to be like, I am done hearing this shit. I am over it. I have been kind. I have been neutral, but move on or I'm shipping out. And she even said it this past episode, like, okay, I'm so glad that Kyle and Dorit have kind of made a small pact to move on because I'm tired. I'm tired. It's taking a toll on me. It's taking a toll on all of us, and I'm ready to move on. So let's move on. So that's pretty much all that happened in Beverly Hills this week, but I enjoyed it. Now, nothing really happened in Potomac. As you are approaching your season finale, can you give me something? Nothing to happen. I would be shocked if Jacqueline came back. I would kind of be shocked if Kieran comes back. I would. She's got nothing. Her whole situation with her boyfriend, Greg, or fiance, Greg. Look, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. He can be loving, caring, extra gentle behind closed doors. But what he is projecting and putting out there on the show is not reflecting on him well. And you're kind of coming off like a dick. Insensitive, impatient dick. Which, I don't know. I mean, Kara, if he doesn't support you in something that is so important in your life, maybe you need to move on. And I think she's starting to see now, like, maybe moving in isn't the best option. Maybe we should take a little bit of a step back, pedal it a little bit. And, maybe I should go back to my apartment, give us a little bit of space that way. But if we can't work through just these minor things as a couple just before marriage, how are we really going to get through like the major issues? Fair point. So I kind of like her, but you're not really bringing much to the table. The only thing is happening is that Karen's sentencing is right around the corner. So will she be at the reunion? Will she be fired? Will she be serving time? That is the looming question. And question that's happening any minute now. So Karen, what's the next step? I don't know. So that's really the only thing that's kind of happening this season. Nothing else is happening in the Potomac. And I love Potomac, but you got to give me something more. Now, let's move over to the Salt Lake City. They had the reunion, part 1. And first, I want to say to the company, I want to make sure I say this correct, Kerastase Thermatique. So smart. I said a couple weeks ago when Lisa Barlow went up to Brittany when we had the high hair count whole fiasco. And she said, your hair does look a little dry. Your ends look a little frizzy. You need to use the Kerastase Thermatique. When she said that, I said, what an unbelievable plug for this company. Of course, people are going to Google it right away. I love a good product. And I did not know that product. And of course, I Googled it too. And I said right there from the get-go, I'm like, if they do not give her a commercial, you have missed an opportunity of a business lifetime. You really have. And they did. They saw the opportunity. They seized the moment, and they gave Lisa Barlow a commercial, and they aired it during part 1 of the reunion. Perfect timing. Perfect situation. You nailed it. So Kerastase Thermatique, everybody's hair looked great. Great commercial, amazing plug. So I wanted to say that right away. Her in that commercial was so funny. Just love that. They did such a great play on her personality and her go-to statements. So funny. Her phrases, I should say, her taglines. I love that. Love that. So funny. It was classic. So kudos to you on that one. Now, the reunion, not a lot happened. Very pretty set. Very pretty. Oopsie. Sorry, hit my microphone there. Of course, we started to go through the breakdown, right, of Lisa Barlow. Everyone was coming for Lisa today. Look, you can say what you want about Lisa Barlow. I love Lisa Barlow. She is who she is. She is not going to change. She has not changed once who she is from day one, season one. You can say, you can't say that a lot about the other people on the cast, but you can definitely say that about Lisa Barlow. She looks the same. She is the same. Well, she's had a couple enhancements, but she still looks the same. She still acts the same. Everybody has had a glow up. All the housewives do, but she still, to me, looks like original and sounds original. So I don't like that they keep coming for her. But of course, everybody was coming from Lisa Barlow. They were going for Angie. And I didn't like it. I like both of those girls. And those two girls, I think, make the cast. And I didn't like it. Bronwyn, you have been a really, really great addition to the show. You're starting to lose me. You are a bit overdramatic. I think that you were taking little kind of pieces of a conflict and you are really blowing it out of proportion. And sometimes it's really entertainment how you make it good theater. You really do with your drama. But sometimes it's just a bit much. It's too dramatic. It is an overreach of theater. And I think that's kind of where we're getting it now. But you do have to love the shade about all the other people that come in behind the scenes that somehow come into the show and how they work their way to the housewives, like the podcasters and the jewelry people. So we got a little of the info of the conflict about the jewelry that was showed with Bronwyn and her husband Todd. You know, they had the couples getaway this season in Palm Springs, and that rental they had there was just awesome. Where they stayed, it was just awesome, and the party they had was really, really nice. I'll take an invitation to any one of their parties at any time. Always. Their parties look amazing. But that's kind of where they had the whole for that anniversary party, Todd and Bronwyn love to give extravagant gifts to each other. So they had this jeweler come out and really show some amazing pieces, and one happened to be a $4 million diamond necklace. Gorgeous. She wore it on the show. They aired a couple pieces that she tried on, but ultimately she wore that piece, and we all thought that that was a piece that she bought because she wore it. So I think the viewers thought she must have bought that necklace. And of course, it got out there into the blogosphere that, oh my God, how excessive in such a difficult time, that they're flaunting their wealth and all that. And I think maybe a little bit of heat kind of came their way. But it also came out that she didn't actually buy the jewelry. So there was a little bit of back and forth in the social media world about the jewelry. Did she buy it? Did she not? Well, it kind of came out on the part one of the reunion because they were talking about the jewelry, and Lisa Barlow said, well, the jeweler reached out to me and said that you didn't purchase the necklace and you didn't purchase any of the jewelry. And she showed the text. Because Andy's like, well, how do you know this? Like, how do you hear all these stories about this? Is it hearsay or do you know from direct sources? And she's like, nope, I spoke to the jeweler. And she's like, and they texted me, they reached out to me and said that you didn't buy the jewelry and yada, yada. And Andy's like, well, can I see it? So Lisa shows him the text. And at first you just see like Andy, you just think that because this happens often. Well, let me see the proof. Well, the proof, the timeline, the receipts, as Heather says. And usually this happens on a reunion. Let me see it. And Andy it's a quick scroll through. But like he was really reading the messages. Like he's back there while all the other girls are still going at it. You see Andy in the background just kind of scrolling and reading. And then he gives it back to Lisa and he's like, okay, yeah, so the jeweler seems, he says you didn't purchase, or she said you didn't purchase anything. The jeweler seems a little burned by you. And it's not great. It's not great. And of course, Bronwyn had her kind of appearance faced and she was like, okay. Well, she does that nodding a lot. You know, the okay. As she's kind of processed her next move. Interesting. So is it a front? Is somewhat of a facade? Because it is known that that Todd is very successful and they are wealthy, but are they playing it up for the cameras? Look, they all do, don't they all? They all kind of play it up for the cameras. But the whole fiasco with the jewelry, I found that to be interesting. But like I said, it's just amazing the people behind the scenes that come out and how that kind of works its way into like a main topic into the season and then onto the reunion. So because you had a podcaster that started the whole fight between Whitney and Meredith about the whole Alibaba jewelry and her prism jewelry, that's really where the main kind of fights are coming into the season. Again, Mary Cosby, you're looking great. I love kind of a little bit of everything that you've given this season. Absolutely. And I'm happy Mary and Angie are together. They're still on the couch. They're still friends. I am here for it. So episode 2 will air this week. And also, I really haven't gotten into the Real Housewives of New York. I keep saying I'm having a hard time watching the new Roni. Although I happened to catch the season finale of Roni last week. I had heard on the internet, everyone was talking about what an explosive episode, what an explosive season finale. So I watched it. It was an argument that definitely shifted friendships, shifted groups, and really kind of turned pretty much most of the cast against this girl, Brynn. So that's how the finale ended. Everybody was pissed at Brynn and going into the reunion. Nobody really had spoken with her. I think a couple of people said they had texted her kind of reach out. She was coming to the reunion, but that's how the reunion started. Everybody, all the other cast were talking. Do you know she's going to come? Is she coming? How are you feeling going into here? And like the normal kind of intro into the reunions. Well, she did. She came in and she was guarded. Everybody looked beautiful. The cast looked beautiful. I have to tell you, pretty much the entire season. I missed the entire season. I only came in during the finale. But I think I can pretty much get the gist of the entire season because I really don't think a lot happened. And even that, it seemed like there was such an important topic about Brynn discussed that she was sexually assaulted. This is a very serious and heavy topic. This girl was victimized. She's been traumatized. She is in pain. It is very clear. I am so sorry that she went through that, endured that, is experiencing it, is still going through the trauma of it. And to anybody who has ever suffered anything like that, it's just awful. But this is how the argument comes. She said that the one girl who was aware of this used that against her. And I'm just kind of paraphrasing and clumping it together again. Didn't really watch the season. Didn't need to. The girl, Uba. Now, everyone has seen that Uba was really not aware of what was happening during that fight and really blew up at Uba, tried to get everybody else against Uba. And it ended up that Uba's like, I don't know what you're talking about. She was just kind of really blindsided by the eruption that was Brynn and how she was trying to get everybody to turn against her and Uba. And ended up being that backfired and everybody ended up turning against Brynn and went to Uba's side because she said, I would have never discussed that or broken your confidence or brought anything, of your trauma into this. I mean, it just sounds like a mess, but the argument against this situation against Prince is what caused this major conflict. And it's just divided the entire cast. Can you move on? Isn't that part of the reason that you got rid of a Vanderpump Rules cast? And now they have to revamp that. It's a kind of the issue that you got rid of the original Roni cast is because there was just major conflict. They couldn't get along. Filming together was difficult. Isn't that kind of why we're having a major revamp of Jersey? So I don't know, but they revamped and overhauled the entire show for Roni. And to me, it's just not working. And then it's such an overreach of trying to have arguments and stories, and it's just not working for me. But I do want to say the set was really cool. It was kind of like a terrace in New York City setting, but the women on the show looked incredible. So the hairstylists and the stylists all did an incredible job. They definitely gave some old glam, Hollywood glam. Bryn, I loved her beautiful dress. They all really, really look gorgeous. But I just find that show dull. And I'm sorry. I keep trying to give it a chance. So I hope something comes out of it soon. Yes, it was an explosive finale. It's tough. You can see in this reunion that Bryn is suffering. And it was really hard to see anybody in such a difficult place. It almost seemed like they were attacking her. And they weren't attacking her. They were just talking about how it went so wrong. But you can see this girl's a mess. She is a mess. And it was uncomfortable for me to watch everybody just sitting there telling how frustrated they were with her and how they didn't like it. And the one person, Uba, who should have been the most angry at Bryn, I felt was, in so far, episode 1, probably the most compassionate to her. It just was uncomfortable to watch. To me, it was very cringy. But I don't know. But I hope something has got to happen a little bit more with Bravo. I like that they're trying to revamp, but I think we need some new shows. If you're going to revamp some shows, can we bring some old shows back? What was the one with something of Crown? Game of Crowns or something like that? Something like that with the crowds, the pageant moms. That was so good. And the high heels, the women in New York City, that was like the precursor to like some of the housewives. Those, I would do those again. There was a couple other ones. I'd have to go back in the Bravo world and think of some of the other ones, gems that were lost. But I don't know. I think Southern Charm needs a serious overhaul, but I think some new changes and some new shows need to happen. I am thoroughly enjoying The Traitors. Maybe if you want to stick with some new game shows coming out, I don't know how you can top Alan Cummings, but I think there needs to be some freshness sprinkled in. Spring's in the air soon, so let's bring some new freshness into Bravo. So if there's any new shows, movies, any hot topics, anything that you'd like to discuss, please reach out to me on Instagram at PollyWineTime, and please follow the Polly Wine Show wherever you get your feed. So thank you so much for joining us today on Pollywine. It's great having you with us, and we'll catch you next time. So catch us anywhere you get your feed, and please follow, like, and subscribe to Pollywine. Thanks so much, and have a great day. See you soon.